Over the last week or two, I've had this question sent to me a number of times. That's always a sign that this needs to be addressed. Now, it's a touchy topic. If you're a betrayed spouse, this is especially going to be a little bit tough to hear. I think it's vital that you hear this message. I think it's imperative that you can hear this message. Now, I don't know if you're in a place to hear it right now. So you can kind of listen to the intro and see. And if it's not a place that you're at right now that you can handle it, then I would tell you to just skip to the next video. If you are, then I would humbly ask you to consider the possibility that there is some gold in this message for your recovery and your unfaithful spouse's recovery. If you're an unfaithful today, this video is precisely for you, because whether you've ever talked about this or whether you've continued to talk about this, and maybe you've been shamed for talking about this, I hope to bring some clarity from my own story, from my own life, that will give you some ways to work out this pain. I will tell you, this question is a hotbed of opportunity for bitterness, resentment, and for maybe you to even lash out at me and go, "Oh, Samuel, I can't believe that you would validate this. I can't believe that you'd talk about this. I can't believe that you would even address this, because it's only validating the unfaithful's deception and only validating the story that they're telling themselves." And listen, I get emails like that all the time. We get comments like that. We just delete it, because this is not an environment of contempt. This is an environment of safety and objective conversations to try and really produce healing. And so a lot of things don't get posted by people because it's not about healing, it's about attacking or blaming or shaming, and that's just not who we are. It's not what I want to be involved in. I want to just give you the best of what I can give you the best of what we can give as an organization, in hopes and in prayer that this is helping you. The question is, what do the unfaithful do with their resentment towards their betrayed spouse? A little bit more succinctly is, hey, I'm angry because I tried X, Y, and Z and it didn't work and I finally had an affair. Or it's the question of, Samuel, look, like I cheated, but what about my resentment? What about my pain? What about my unforgiveness? How do I process through my unforgiveness towards my betrayed spouse? Because I'm lost on how to do that. Now that I've said it, as a betrayed, you may be fuming, or you may say, I'll listen, Samuel, but I don't know. You've got to understand this piece to the puzzle, because it actually can help you understand the journey of the unfaithful. And if you're going to be a self-righteous, unfaithful spouse and lash out at me and say, how dare there be any respect for my unforgiveness, and I deserve death, and there's no way that I could ever justify. Listen, that's unfortunately a pretty large degree of self-righteousness. Like, if you don't have any resentment, that's awesome. But if you want to deny that you have resentment or unforgiveness and project it onto me, I'm sorry, go to another video, because it's a very real deal that many unfaithful struggle with. And I'm not trying to justify infidelity. I never will, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But the fact is, if you're an unfaithful, you've probably got some resentment towards your betrayed spouse about some things that went on prior to the affair, or maybe even during the affair, which is a little bit different of a unique conversation, but there's probably some resentment there, and we've got to deal with it. In fact, if you as an unfaithful don't deal with it, you're ripe for relapse, your recovery is going to stall, and your entire process will be very muddy when it doesn't have to be. As we launch out into some helpful tips, remember I warned you, this is going to be a tough one. Number one, I will tell you that as an unfaithful, you're going to have to find a safe third party to process that unforgiveness. You're not going to be able to process it with your betrayed spouse, especially within the first probably 6 months to 12 months, because the wound is so raw, the hurt is so prevalent, the quickness to maybe respond by the betrayed is just too raw. You need a safe third party, someone else that's the same sex that you can navigate through. Now, if it's a professional therapist, then maybe the same sex nature isn't essential. But if you're just looking at community, it's vital that that person is of the same sex so that there isn't any struggle for another affair or another situation that's of a high risk nature that you really have nothing that's going to benefit you there. A safe third party is not going to judge you, shame you, condemn you, or maybe even validate your affair, but actually hear you out and help you vet out why you have resentment, why you have bitterness, why you are feeling some of the things that you're feeling. And if they're an expert, they can help you maybe turn a mirror on yourself and go, now, is it valid that you feel that way? Maybe that's just a story that you've told yourself, or maybe there's other things at play. But most importantly, you've got to have objectivity. Next, it's vital that that person or that group is a safe group. Sometimes you can identify what safety is by identifying what unsafe behavior is or an unsafe environment is. There's no way that you need to be with people who are going to continue to reinforce that you are justified in cheating, or that they would have cheated too, or that everything's okay, or that your behavior was totally fine and acceptable. No. Safety just means, man, you can share here. I'm not going to judge you, shame you, or maybe even reinforce what you did. I'm just going to hear you out. I'm just going to listen. See, shame is diffused when stories are told in safe environments. The shame, the anger, the hurt, the pain, the resentment can become diffused when you're able, as an unfaithful, to share it in a safe place without judgment or condemnation. A program on our website is called Hope for Healing. It's probably one of the safest places you'll find in the entire world for an unfaithful spouse to find an expert curriculum, a safe group of men if you're a man, or woman if you're a woman, to heal, to learn why they had the affair in the first place, how to develop empathy, how to develop remorse, how to just understand how did you get yourself in this mess in the first place. Safety has got to be paramount for any group that you're going to be involved in. If you're going to be just involved in a friend group that knows your situation, that just says, man, I'd have cheated too, and you know what, you should cheat, you're probably going to have to cheat again, or you should just divorce, that's not objectivity and that's not safety. Next is the absolute vital need for you to begin to work through forgiveness towards your betrayed spouse. I know if you heard that, you, as a betrayed, you would maybe throw up and say, wait a minute, forgive me. They're the one that cheated. Yes, but here's the thing. If they don't forgive you, they're going to be chained and bound by their own bitterness and resentment and issues. They have to be able to forgive. Listen, Samantha will tell you that she was not perfect during our first 10 years of marriage. It in no way justifies the affair. It in no way justifies my infidelity. It never will. But I did have to forgive her for some things that went on. It was absolutely essential because forgiveness is for me, not for Samantha. I absolutely had to forgive some things that I was wounded about, angry about, hurt by. If you're an unfaithful, you probably have some unforgiveness inside of you. Maybe you don't. I would say that a large portion of us do, and unless we work through that forgiveness, we're going to find ourselves seemingly chained in patterns and response patterns that are only destructive and only making the recovery process more difficult. Forgiveness is essential for us, and we have to typically work through it with someone else because the betrayed is not in a position to hear about how we, the cheater, have resentment towards them. Maybe when you have started to gain momentum and you're at a point where you've forgiven, and there's a healthy sense of momentum between you and your betrayed spouse, usually between 1 and 3 or 4 years, there's times where you may say, you know, I've had to work through some forgiveness. And not in a self-righteous, well, you know, betrayed spouse, I've had to forgive you too. No, that's ridiculous, and that will blow up the whole process of healing. There is a point where you can say in a very humble way, you know, I've had to work through a lot of resentment in my own life towards you, towards other people. And some of it maybe was real, some of it was stuff I just concocted in my own mind. But at the end of the day, I've had to work through this forgiveness. It's this unique scenario. Here's the betrayed trying to work through forgiveness towards the unfaithful, and here's the unfaithful trying to win back their heart and work through stuff to be forgiven and be a safe person. But then here's this other commodity, this other process where the unfaithful, if they're really starting to get in touch with themselves, is realizing, I think I had some resentment and bitterness, which really kind of made me justify my affair and justify me acting out. And if I want to prevent relapse, and if I want to never do this again, and if I want to be able to receive the tough conversations, and if I want to be in a healthy place and not have my shame be activated by my betrayed spouse's anger, resentment, pain, hurt, or simply showing of emotion, I've got to simultaneously work on diffusing my own unforgiveness, or else I'm never going to be safe for my betrayed spouse. So as I work through my own issues, and as I do the heavy lifting, and as I confront the darkness inside of me, I can then create safety inside of me for my betrayed spouse to heal. And the process merges, and safety is created, momentum is created, restoration starts to take root, repair work is going on in a multifaceted way. And when that happens, man, there's beauty, there's redemption, there's healing, there's momentum, there's life. But when this unforgiveness is continuing to rage, and that story that they're telling themselves continues to go on, and as unfaithful as we continue to stay bound by this resentment, we won't be able to be safe for our betrayed spouse to heal. It takes both parties doing work to heal.